on a Monday. It's 9:03. Welcome to 9 to Noon. I'm Paul Allen, the master mixer of the Monday Montage. Eric Nordquist executing the montage in patentedly impeccable fashion. And this is 9 to Noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. The montage song, an oldie, a dusty called Once You Get Started by a lady named Chaka Khan. Blowing out teams for the Minnesota Vikings has become, in essence, or to a certain extent, a shaka, in that you beat somebody the way you beat the New York Giants, and it's just strange. It just doesn't generally happen that way for the Minnesota Vikings. It's usually everything's of the meat grinder variety. You're winning by 2 scores, and then it's 1 score, and then somebody gets the ball, and you hold on to win by a score. They beat the Green Bay Packers in Kevin O'Connell's first game as head coach by 17 points. And that was the largest victory margin in the Kevin O'Connell era until yesterday. Because once you get started against those New York Giants, it just doesn't stop. Blowing out teams for the Minnesota Vikings, indeed, has become to some quite the shaka. And once you get started, who knows where this will take us? But it never felt like they were losing yesterday, which also was strange. I mean, and that even includes the way things started.
First offensive drive for the purple of the 2024 offset eye right. Darnold's first pass wearing the colors. He's going to be sacked. Sam Darnold is going to be sacked by the great Dexter Lawrence, who, like a shot, got into the backfield. It's a loss of 8.
Here comes Dexter Lawrence to start festivities, and for some, it was probably like, seen this movie before, same movie, different ending. The more things change, the more they stay the same. It's just the ways and means become rearranged. It was Dexter Lawrence out of the gate trying to ruin things, and good morning.
Good morning. From the sack to the C.J. Ham fumble, PA.
To the what?
To the C.J. Ham fumble.
Empty backfield on 3rd and 16. Darnold from the end zone fires right. Caught C.J. Ham near side. Oh, he dropped it. And the Giants have recovered it at the 21. C.J. Ham still on the field. He lay prone on his stomach. He got blasted at the 18. And the Giants have turned over the Minnesota Vikings deep in Vikings territory.
It was nutty, man. You start, your defense kicks off the season with the 3 and out, and you're feeling good. It's uneventful. It's Daniel Jones. And you mentioned, I mean, whether it's the scoring margin, beating on bad teams. It's okay to run it up on a bad team. It's okay to have a super sleepy fourth quarter and cruise your way to victory. But Vikings fans needed to be reminded of that a bit because of how rare that has taken place.
We had to change our faces.
We had to change our faces, and we had to do it early. From the sack on Darnold, okay, yes, we've talked about Dexter Lawrence. Yes, we get it. Dexter Lawrence is going to be a factor in this game, and he's going to, quote-unquote, get his at times. But it didn't have to be on the opening drive. It didn't have to be during, whether it's the special scripted 15, when we're at our best, team wants to start fast, and then the following play, you watch this team cough up the ball and turn it over in scoring range. For the opening possession, the 6th time the Vikings have turned over the ball on their first offensive possession since the beginning of last season. I believe that's the most in the NFL. It was same old story. It was, are you kidding me with this? Is this going to be another game that's closer than it has to be because of the mistakes we are making? But faces were changed, PA. Faces were changed, and it started early. Next opportunity with the ball. The Vikings handled their business, and it was Aaron Jones beating a couple of guys to the pylon to put the Vikings back in the lead and put the Giants in the rearview mirror.
And when 14 found 18.
From their own 10, Darnold shotgun again. 4-man rush. Sam loops one. Jefferson, yes! At the 45 near side. It's a 43-yard hit. Darnold to Justin Jefferson. And that's a connection we're going to learn to love all season.
And now it's like faces are changed and
We're coming.
here they come on that CJ Ham fumble. Yesterday was CJ's 114th game. That's only the second fumble of his career. Now, it's not like, he's touching the ball 15 times a game, but still, second fumble in 114 games. And it was caused by this rookie from Kentucky they have named Andrew Phillips. He goes by Drew, D-R-U. And what I heard about him up to the game, man, it just played out beautifully because he had some problems in coverage, but super scrappy, hits very, very hard, very intuitive in the run game. And he was the one that forced that fumble. Now, this Drew Phillips somehow, some way played 4 years at Kentucky and didn't manage an interception.
I always love that one.
I think his last interception was his junior year in high school. It was crazy.
I always love that one.
But once you get started, who knows where it's going to go after that fumble. Graham Gano gets a field goal. Graham Gano ain't beating anybody. So if Brian Daboll, coach of the Giants, super special coach of the year a couple of years ago, okay, he took over play calling for the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, and the play calling, I mean, the defense was extremely good in certain times yesterday for the Minnesota Vikings, but they settled for that field goal there, and then with the face change, I think a lot of us were kind of...
We're coming.
Here they come, one in a row, 4B flow. One in a row, 4B flow. The newbies, holy cow, the newbies, wow. Welcome to the Covenant, Andrew Van Ginkel. Aaron Jones was so dominating. It led to Ron Johnson on a Vikings fan line yesterday comparing him to Walter Payton.
I always love that one.
So we had myriad face changes and mind changes and heart changes all across the Great Divide yesterday. I was listening on the bus to a Vikings fan line waiting to go to the airport, and I was like, yes. Or a sweetness comparison to Aaron Jones.
He couldn't help himself. And he even prefaced it. I know this is going to be preposterous, but he kind of reminded me of sweetness with the smooth flow of that running game yesterday.
So the team ran for 111 yards with all involved and scored a rushing touchdown. Like Nordo, like you said on Fan Line yesterday, a running game you can respect. I like how you put that, because if it remains a running game one has to respect, the identity of the team is and always is going to be via the pass. And let's not forget that. 3 TDs via the catching game, 1 for Jefferson, 1 for Jalen Naylor, and 1 for Andrew Van Ginkel. I mean, that, the underrated part with Van Ginkel's touchdown, 4th of his career, second pick 6. He had a fumble recovery touchdown. And in something that I just think is like sarcastically humorous, in 2020, when he played for Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins, there was a blocked punt in the game. And it was against the L.A. Rams, and Van Ginkel scooped it up and got to the end zone against Kevin O'Connell's team.
I always love that
one. Van Ginkel should be Defensive Player of the Week, by the way. He's amazing with that versatility. You get a sack, you get a handful of tackles, and you get a game-defining pick 6. That should be NFC Defensive Player of the Week. But we'll see. The newbies, it's like when you describe the newbies, whether it's Blake Cashman all over the field, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Aaron Jones, there are those who have been within the covenant who are also part of the newbie variety, like Blake Brandell. He's been here for several years, but now he made his 5th start. He started 2 last year, and he's a newbie when it comes to starting at left guard. Jalen Naylor playing, something like 25 to 30 plays. Well, that's newbie status for Jalen Naylor, and he may be even playing more, depending on which way the Jordan Addison ankle L goes. And Jordan was full of juice yesterday. Holy cow. On Jefferson's 4th down, the play design on the 4th down touchdown to Justin Jefferson was just unbelievable, because Jefferson's the right one to hit. Specifically the way they flexed Jones to the right and got the safety to go that way. So therefore now you got single coverage on Justin Jefferson, and Jefferson's going to win that with Darnold, a veteran, probably 85% of the time. But if that was closed, Jordan Addison leaked open back center of the end zone about a half second later. So there were myriad options there. And speaking of Jalen Nailor, talk about play design. And Kevin O'Connell joins 9 to noon tomorrow from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. That's an each and every Tuesday piece at 11 o'clock. One in a row, 4KO. One in a row, 4KO. That'll take place tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We're really excited about that. The Jalen Nailor touchdown. I mean, there were so many facets that went into it. The most imperative or the most needed for the situation was having Justin Jefferson in the backfield, and he flexes out to the right flat, and he gets the safety to freak out and go that way. But the big key on that play, by the way, Johnny Munt was wide open on the left side. So it was you guessed it, pick your poison on that touchdown. There were at least two options, Munt being one of them. He was uncovered to the left side, but Darnold, because that's something they had practiced all week. And the key to this play, and it's so beautiful. I've watched it back 3 times, and it really plays into the improvement and the scholarly approach to his craft Jalen Nailor has taken. Because Nailor came off the line of scrimmage, and with Jefferson like haloing behind him, the Cordale Flott he would have bet every single thing he had that pass was going to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But why? Because Jalen Nailor faked a run block. And it's unbelievable when you watch it back, because it takes a half second to do what he did, but it got Flott, something called Flott, to stutter step enough where he got caught off guard. So Jalen fires off the line of scrimmage, and he sets himself up like, I'm going to run block you right now. But then he took off, and he's very fast. And Flott was left in the wake of a keen turn of speed. I mean, Kevin O'Connell was playing so fast yesterday with some of those plays against the New York Giants.
Well, that's from the K.O. McVay school. Watching the night game last night, Cooper Kupp, because Puka Nacua goes down with the knee injury. Mm-hmm. They had 3 or 4. We could do this all night, and you, the Lions, cannot stop us with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And it all started with motion of Cooper. Now, he didn't do it. You mentioned, that's called halo motion? Is that what that's called? Or just haloing out the way JJ did?
Yeah, when somebody loops behind the quarterback.
But as soon as the snap, Cooper Kupp in motion, he goes in motion behind 2 receivers. Mm-hmm. They immediately get it out to him. Those 2 receivers block. Tyler Johnson had a game last night. Go Gophers.
Right.
And then also Denard Robinson. And they would do that effectively, but Cooper gets the ball and they block. The wrinkle of the fake block created so much chaos. Right. It was gorgeous.
It was beautiful.
It was gorgeous on that touchdown.
Yeah, on that Kupp touchdown, there was a corner for the Lions that took an absolute fat L. It was like he was playing in Brazil on that slippery field. My man slipped. There goes Cooper Kupp. Then my man slips again. But anyway. So Jalen Nailor had his best game as a National Football League player yesterday, and yours truly and a bunch of people are really happy for him. So the newbies also continue with Dallas Turner. All right. Now, Dallas played a fair amount of plays. Dallas had a sack. But Dallas hasn't really jumped out in training camp or when he played in the preseason, the way a first round favorite to win, or at one point was favored to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Because when you're 21 years of age, or if you're 24 like Bo Nix, when this is so new and this is so fast and the pressure is so high, when you get to the regular season, I was really happy that Dallas Turner was able to leave the game with the sack. Looking forward to watching back all of his plays just to see how things worked out for him, because it's an eye-opening experience for rookies in the National Football League. Shoot, it's an eye-opening experience for Daniel Jones, and he's played a handful of years. But with the newbies, Reichard made all the extra points. Brandell mashed on man playing left guard. He took a penalty early. And finally, saving the best for last, the Van Ginkel part probably, again, unless somebody's doing something in the NFC defensively that I'm not thinking of right now, because I didn't watch anything yesterday. But Andrew Van Ginkel, I would make favored to win NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Sam Darnold winning NFC Offensive Player of the Week, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but that's fine. Because this newbie, 19 of 28 for 203 and 2. And
24, 19 to 24.
Thank you. 19 of 24, 203 and 2. And the rush was on him early. Dexter got him, as you heard. And it was looking like, again, same movie, different ending. The Giants front line just came firing out of the gate, but this is a game, like I said last week, games 1 and 2, but specifically game 1 is as much of a coaching game as you will get during the course of the season. And the reason is because coaching staffs have had an entire offseason to get ready for one game. And you have new components that you are unfurling where Daboll and Shane Bowen, who they already want to send back to Tennessee, Mike Kafka, their offensive coordinator, there are facets that nobody has seen. And you can show certain things in the preseason, and the Vikings were the most explosive with their passing game this preseason as they've been through the first 3 years with Kevin O'Connell. And they put Jaron Hall in a spot to actually go out there and have some fun with Lucky Jackson. But you're not going to get Jefferson or wide receivers with the halo bit behind the quarterback and the pistol formation and Naylor faking a block to get Flott to bite, and then he takes off to the end zone. You're just not going to get that. So that was a gotcha play. There are lots of gotcha plays that can be unfurled week 1 of the National Football League season. But the rush was on Darnold early. And when I watched back the plays, including the Dexter Lawrence sack, Sam, the feet, they ain't jumping around. The ball's not like dropping down by his hip. His eyes, he holds onto the ball with both hands and he slides in a way while holding the ball with both hands. It's brilliant, because you got beef eaters in there trying to get strip sacks. So it looked like we were going to have a little bit of a problem early in the game. Darnold was able to get around it for the most part, and then things even out, and that's where the metaphorical cream rises to the top of the proverbial top. And that's what happened yesterday. The Vikings are dramatically better than the Giants, who are a team that are absolutely in transition right now.
Can you believe how little they trust Daniel Jones, by the way?
Yeah.
With those designed runs and even down. And ultimately, I get it. The score's lopsided.
Yeah.
But their lack of willingness to just say, okay, we might we're going to take the L here, but we're going to let Daniel Jones at least try to, for instance, run up 10 targets with Malik Neighbors.
Yep.
That we're actually going to at least try to find something positive to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
They laid down and played dead, PA. I mean, the way that they were using him was kind of shocking in a way. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Well, they just wanted to get out of there with some form of life,
I guess so, but and once that pick six happens, air out of the building, I'm hearing skull chants louder on the broadcast than anything else. I get it. But that thing, and that's after 1 week. You got Dexter Lawrence calling out the fans for booing. Malik Neighbors is saying, well, I'm doing my job, so I don't know what's going on. This is just after one game. And I saw this stat, PA, and I had to double check it to make sure it's true. Since he signed that fat deal, Daniel Jones, $160 million, he has 8 interceptions. Now, he was hurt last year because of the ACL. He has thrown 3 touchdowns to the other team, including Andrew Van Ginkel. He's thrown 2 to his teammates.
I always love that one.
Since he signed a $160 million deal, he's got 5 touchdowns and 3 of them are to the other team.
If you're doing Giants fan line, one of the bullets that should be shared early in the equation is the Giants permitted just a freakishly high 85 sacks last year. I think it's second most in the history of the NFL. And in the 6 games Jones played, he was sacked 30 times. So the Vikings, of course, get 5 sacks.
I always love that one.
Which was the average amount of times Jones was sacked in each of his games last year. But with Malik Neighbors, like I can't even remember a 50-50 try to Malik. Now he was missed a couple of times. He was wide open one time on the left side for something that probably would have gone for a touchdown, but Jones couldn't get there. Why? Because as the game goes on, that's where the coaching part really, really starts to surface. And after you start seeing how they're protecting certain things, That's where Flores, Pettin, and his group, well, that's where they started to fool these offensive linemen. And like on Giants fan line, be like, let me get this straight. We brought in 3 free agents to bolster the offensive line, and we're out here giving up 5 sacks again.
I always love that one.
So the work the Vikings coaching staff specifically did on that Giants coaching staff yesterday was memorable. It was calculated. It was the cliched chess versus checkers as the game continued to go on. And so the Vikings start 1-0, and here come the Niners for a nooner next Sunday. We can scout the Niners this evening against Super Special A-Raj. But with Darnold, he goes 12 of 12 to start. Well, that'll do. So what did everybody think of Sam Darnold? 64686 for the text. If you'd like to leave something, we'll do our best to drop it in during the course of the radio show. And what did you think of Sam Darnold with what you saw yesterday, recognizing the big horse is still in the barn with J.J. McCarthy?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we can think now, but we can also be forward thinking too. Hopefully things with Addison work out okay. Patrick Jones had a 2-sack game. That was super sweet. If Patrick Jones is going to become a factor for this football team this year with Dallas Turner, Grenard was doubled a lot. You can use Van Ginkel anywhere. Van Ginkel plays all positions. He's all over the field. And there was a time where they had, with the edge guys, the outside linebackers, the outside players standing up, threatening to rush. You know, one time I caught Grenard on one side, Metellus on the other, and then you had Ivan Pace and like Dallas Turner or Van Ginkel in the middle mugging the A-gap. And then the next time it was Grenard and Turner, and then 2 other guys, Cashman and somebody else inside. So the Flores clearly was able to unfurl markedly more yesterday in the first game than what he unfurled last year, but it didn't quite work as well. They played really fast yesterday, and there's a lot of speed on this Minnesota Vikings defense. So Jones had a couple of sacks, and you know, I just got the feeling after the game that Brian Daboll wants to send Shane Bowen back to Tennessee, and
I always love that one.
Be like, you just keep him, and we'll still pay the contract. Things were so good yesterday. They came to celebrate 100 years of New York Giants football, but left talking about Jonathan Bullard playing in his 100th game.
There we go, Paul!
With a big tackle for loss for Jonathan Bullard in his 100th game.
Do you see him just shove that tackle off to the side like a rag doll and just feasted on? Oh, it was terrific play.
Thank you, FVP Batteries. The marathon segment to start 9 to noon, courtesy of FVP. Reach for what works and learn more at fvpparts.com. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Thanks to TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes Vikes Bites around the corner. After that, the analyst is followed by Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph joins 9 to noon today. He's all over the Vikings game, but he called the Gophers game on TV over the weekend. So Big Boy joins about 30 minutes from now. He'll be followed by Star Tribune columnist Lavelli Neal III. I believe he's joining us in studio. Parker Fox of Sky U Ma U. He'll be with us at 11 o'clock, and we're going to replay that montage near the end of the show. Excellent work by Nordo, Shaka Khan, Rufus Khan, because once you get started, you got no idea where it's going to stop. And the home opener is this weekend at noon, and that's going to be all about funky against the San Francisco 49ers. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to noon. Thank you very much for listening to FM 100.3 KFAN. Vikes Bites are next, and a happy Monday to all of you.
Good morning and welcome back. It is time for Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites brought to you daily 9 to noon by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Go to thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com and you can sink your teeth into regenerative agriculture. You can get a box of meat showing up at your doorstep. You can also shop at your local Coburn's locations and your local co-ops as well. We're going to start here with some text messages. You asked for them, and it just kind of goes in line with the conversation I wanted to get going here, specifically with Sam and Vikes Bites. Lance from Minneapolis. Sam looked poised and in control, very confident. Dexter, Burns, KFAN, really good eye test to see how he reacts to pressure. He passed week 1 feeling very good with Sam. This one, though, I like this.
Well, back to the first one, unless it ties. Does it tie into the second one to the first?
Yeah, it's just all Sam related. There, we got 100 texts and just kind of grouping kind of a theme to this.
Well, 8 seconds. The plan for Burns and Thibodeau, along with Lawrence, clearly was good. I can't. Kayvon Thibodeau he's an enigma to me. He's just a conundrum because I didn't like him his rookie season. I thought he was just fast, run around guy who didn't have any moves. Then I didn't watch him last year, and he had 11 and a half sacks. But we might have called his name one time yesterday. Burns only jumped up when he had the face mask, which led to a touchdown. And Lawrence, Dexter, I ain't going to say anything rough about Dexter, but that plays into the coaching part of week 1. They're high on Burns and Thibodeau, and they combined to get their names called once.
And part of that, talking about the game plan, I got this text. Nordo, what about Christian Darrisaw manhandling those pass rushers? Now, Darrisaw was flagged. It may have been the only time we mentioned Thibodeau, was when Christian Darrisaw took him like a small child and threw him off to the side. I don't know if he had a hand up under the pads, but it looked like he was just out muscling him, but ultimately he was called for the penalty. But the O-line in particular, a big part of the conversation on Fan Line yesterday, trying to understand the combination of Sam looking good in the pocket, Sam making good decisions, Sam having time quite a bit because of how well the offensive line was playing, and balancing that with moments where Dexter Lawrence is really good. Dexter Lawrence is going to push Garrett Bradbury back into the doorstep of Sam Darnold, but the good ones outweighing the bad and just kind of putting all of that together.
Yeah.
I think there has to be some credit given to the Minnesota Moving Company for what we did see out of Sam in yesterday's game.
Absolutely, because Burns, I think Burns had 46 sacks in 5 years with Carolina. Yes. And my man's arms, I'm not kidding you, his fingertips basically go down to the top of his kneecaps. I've never seen arms that long in my life, and what a physical specimen he is. But yesterday it was all hat, no cowboy. And Thibodeau, I'm just not the biggest fan, and I'm sure he's good, and there are things that I'm missing here.
Hasn't been good against us though, that's a total of 3 games now, I think, since he started his career.
But the next group, you can have names like Thibodeau and Lawrence and Burns compared to like Bosa, Fred Warner, and Javon Hargrave. They're just more squared away. They're just a more professional team. So even though the names may not be as ballyhooed, what's coming next is just more squared away.
Vikes Bites! Thank you, Thousand Hills. And thank you to my buddies at Zone Coverage. Last year we did Nordo's Numbers, PA, and we're going to do that again. So we partner with Zone Coverage. You go to zonecoverage.com.
Sweet.
And there'll be a site with various numbers kind of telling the story of the previous game. Mm-hmm. And that's up right now, Zone Coverage, Nordo's Numbers. And I'm going to hit you with this one, sticking with Sam. 12. He started off 12 of 12 in yesterday's game. And it wasn't just about checkdowns and stat padding and low air yards. I think he had 9 yards an attempt yesterday. His career's like in the low 6s, PA. I'm sure that's on your game calling depth chart.
Daniel Jones, yards per attempt, 3.2. Oh, no, wait. Bo Nix, yards per attempt, 3.2.
I always love that one.
No, 3.2.
I knew you would know that.
It was like 218 for like 42, and just, yeah.
Yeah, he struggled yesterday. Late rushing touchdown for the rookie,
right.
Couple of picks, the whole thing. But Sam Darnold did have that interception. The key to this, second best start to a game by Vikings quarterback in team history, PA.
Wow.
He tied Fran Tarkenton. There was a game in the 70s. At 12. Otherwise, it was Kirk a couple of years ago against the Bears early on, who had 17 straight completions to begin a game. But the idea, again, we got to get past that C.J. Ham fumble. It's a thing that counts and matters, and we got to pay attention to it.
And I give the rookie credit.
Terrific hit, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I heard like 2 things Saturday night about Drew Phillips. And one is he's extremely good against the run. His angles are not of a rookie. And when he hits you, you stay hit.
Right.
And right out of the gate, we saw it.
Let me ask you this last thing, Nordo's numbers. Those two situations with the timeouts in the second half, even a lopsided victory, there are imperfections. We saw it, and I think it was a headset or a ear microphone issue in the preseason game where Sam was I think KO had to actually go out on the field in that preseason game.
The Raiders.
To give the play to Darnold. In this one, we just kind of got a little loose with it. Play clock dwindled down. Ended up having to take 2 early timeouts in the second half.
Right.
In a close game.
Yep.
I guarantee you that's something that we're trying to figure out, that's something we're talking about a bit more than we would given the circumstances.
Right.
So that's something to watch. Still
Well,
kind of getting things moving here.
I couldn't get a handle on why it happened. I thought there was a play clock malfunction that was not fixed on one of them. But you're right. But I mean, it's like you think about it for 2 seconds when you're winning by 3 scores. And then you think about it for 2 minutes when it's a meat grinder. And then you talk about it for an hour the next day if it's a meat grinder and you lose. So it's nothing to gloss over. But we'll see what Kevin says today with his press conference. If he hits on that when one of the scribes peppers him. But we have him tomorrow at 11 a.m. So we might be able to get into that.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites, you say.
Here's a number for you that comes to mind. And Alec Lewis, this is courtesy of him. Kevin O'Connell is now 18-0 PA when the Vikings are tied or ahead in the turnover margin.
I got to get that on my depth chart. I mean, Alec has gone with that for a year. It's accurate, and it is such an imperative number.
And it plays into, of course, whether it was those opening possession turnovers leading to close losses a year ago, being able to overcome ultimately the pick 6 from Van Ginkel, and then the hitman taking points off the board with that end zone interception later on. That's all positive. Final couple of nuggets for you here before we go to break and catch up with Pete Bercich. The Jordan Addison injury with the ankle, it's the other ankle. Oh. And so it's not a re-injuring of the initial issue that he had in camp / preseason. Mm-hmm. But I've also seen now that there will be more tests, but it does not appear to be a serious one.
Okay.
But Jordan Addison now, it sounds like, is rolling on a pair of hobbled tires, a pair of wheels that are a little damaged right now. So that's something to watch. To the good again, and with the defense, PA, Flores' defense, good moments last year, and it feels like they ascended, kind of plateaued, and then people just got tired towards the end of last year. They allowed 333 yards a game a year ago. In the essence of beating on bad teams, 240 total yards yesterday for the Giants. And this is a team that allowed 98 on the ground last year as a defense. They were 8th in the NFL. The Vikings were just 74 yesterday. So again, if Jones is making mistakes and we don't trust a guy, at least we can get Devin Singletary going. They couldn't. Right. At least we can get Jones on designed runs. They tried 6 or 7 of them. Didn't work. Yeah. And stopping the run, a big part. And Jerry Tillery, the newbies that you talked about, you mentioned how many plays he had yesterday. Yeah. Very good things from Flores' defense, a platform to grow from into week 2 with the Niners.
Let's run down the analyst Pete Bercich and discuss the Vikings' season-opening victory at MetLife Stadium. After that, big boy's back, Kyle Rudolph. One of the great tight ends in the history of Vikings football. He will discuss the NFL, the Vikings, and the Gophers' victory over Rhode Island. And all of that's around the corner. It's 9 to noon on KFAN.
Jones, and the right Jones, our Jones, has 2 sacks on the day, and it drives the Giants back to a place where they're going to be punting with 52 seconds to go in the game. Empty backfield for Danny Dimes, 3 receivers left, 2 right on 4th down, back to pass, throws to the end zone, and it is intercepted by Harry the Hitman. Harrison Smith with an interception, the 35th of his career, and the blowout continues with the Vikings leading by 22, turning over old Danny Dimes.
Here we go, Paul!
Bercich.
Analyst for the Minnesota Vikings Radio Network and KFAN since 2007. Here comes Pete Bercich at Pete Bercich via Twitter. If you would like to chat in cogent fashion about Vikings games or the National Football League. Hey, Pete, with Andrew Van Ginkel, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you either did this in games or you did it in practice with like the jugs machine or whatever. Mm-hmm. That ball, the ball that Jones threw Van Ginkel's way that he picked off, that's not easy to catch, is it?
No. How many times last year did we see someone drop it? We saw Neil Hunter get his hands up in there a number of times, but it's hard to come down with that football. That's not an easy thing to do.
Did that play absolutely remind you of his pick six last year against Sam Howell when he played for Miami?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the first thing that popped into my mind. We always do film studies of guys that we bring in, and Van Ginkel has this way of being in the right place at the exact right time, whether it's special teams or defense. And he did that yesterday. There were a lot of things I think that he did. Both he, Cashman, just drop it in the zones in the right areas, staying in the right spots, getting Jones to have to go through his progression instead of the dig that's open. He had to either go to the flat or somebody else. So the quality of the zone drops of that linebacking crew really improved.
Yeah, the depth of all the linebackers. I brought this up with Kevin O'Connell in the pregame that people heard right in front of the game, where it's, just put all the linebackers together. I mean, we can call Turner and Van Ginkel and Grenard and Jones edges, but they're still outside linebackers. And there's just so much they can do with all of those linebackers. And I guess you can put Josh Metellus in there too, because he'll play a little linebacker. And, one of us brought it up yesterday where at one point, we saw Metellus on the left edge, Grenard on the right edge, and then either Pace, Cashman, Turner, or there were just a handful of people who were opposite the center in the A gaps, and it just was forever changing.
And don't forget, you got Harrison Smith. He can also get 3 sacks in a game, blitzing off the edge. We have a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, and that's what they're trying to do. That's how a Pat Jones is unblocked later in the game, who missed a sack and got a sack on the same play. But again, in the NFL, you don't see unblocked outside linebackers, defensive linemen, blitzers, period, very often. And when you're able to throw multiple fronts, multiple people, they can't play, where's Waldo? They can't say, all right, Metellus is over there, so we're going to turn, he always drops, so we're going to turn the protection this way, blah, blah, blah. You can't get a beat on it. Flores knows how offenses game plan. And so whatever tendency they have with personnel or front or look, they'll go against it. And they have the versatility and the ability to do that. And like you said, they're more outside linebackers than you call them rush. Absolutely. These guys can drop. Grenard can drop. All these guys can drop. And it just gives you so much flexibility.
Can I ask you, Pete, about Jonathan Grenard? If you're just reading box scores the morning after the game, he has a hit on Jones, but ultimately no registered tackles. Is there, when you have a mobile quarterback like Jones, I'm just going to say, what did you see from him yesterday? As, I saw him with the speed and I saw him getting close. And I'm curious if maybe there was an element of contain, kind of smart rushing at times to keep Jones from getting loose.
Yeah, there was some of that. There were also a lot of line games. You saw Grenard lined up inside or in the interior of the defensive line. That's another thing. We were running 3 and 4 man line games yesterday, right? You have the interior rushers, 2 guys go up, the outside guy loops up underneath. I mean, it's difficult for offensive linemen to pass all those games off. And Grenard is a big part of that. He's usually a penetrator, meaning he's a guy that's taking a gap, trying to grab 2 guys and not letting someone come off on a looper. So his ability to get after the passer and his technique and his tenacity was used, and I think it resulted in a couple more sacks of some other guys.
Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network and KFAN. The 44-yard hit to Jefferson, left sideline in front of the Vikings bench. It had some 50-50 to it. And, outside of some moments like in desperate times, and then this is in no way a shot at Kirk Cousins, who gave the team really good moments over X amount of years. But Kirk is so calculated, and Kirk is so he's so percentages based that really you didn't get a lot of 50-50 tries for Jefferson or other receivers unless you absolutely positively had to have them because desperate times called for it. Well, the pass Darnold threw, and I've seen this a lot in practice, and I saw it a lot in training camp. Darnold, I'll just tell you right now, Darnold is going to throw more 50-50s to Jefferson than we've seen maybe in JJ's career. Would you agree?
I would disagree. I think Mullins threw a lot of 50-50 balls his way by percentage. The throw was great. He had like a cover 2 type look with Deonte Banks, and he just couldn't get back. He couldn't get back quickly enough for that 7 route that JJ ran. I think if there's anything from offensively, we were efficient. Everything was good. I do think that Coach O'Connell will want to stretch the field more. Just once a quarter, a little more often, take shots down the field. The first big shot we took down the field to Addison, we got a pass interference. A lot of good things can happen if you put the ball in the right spot. And Darnold's very capable of that. But I just think they're going to want to continue to work the middle of the field. That's something that he didn't do a ton of in his previous life. And the other thing, too, is, like you said, just when it looks open, just throw it, baby. Just throw it to the open area and let JJ do his thing.
The linebackers, we were talking about newbies over the course of the open and last segment, Pete, and Blake Cashman being one of those. I was just curious what you saw from them. 6 apiece in tackles from Cashman and Ivan Pace, and Cashman wearing the dot. What'd you think?
Ivan was up to some of his old tricks with just taking on fullbacks and being able to avoid them and get back in. And that's something that Flores said he's never, he hasn't seen a guy be able to do that. He has some techniques that only he really can do, and he did some of those yesterday. And with Cashman, saw a couple really good pass drops out of him for sure. And then people think, big deal pass drops, but no, he was getting to the right spot, holding off. Like both he and Van Ginkel got themselves in the right spots in the right time. So, and he also kind of ran everything, got everybody lined up. Hard to, when you have all that speed and talent around you, and to just be able to kind of organize it and just be in the right spot. It was a good job.
Hey, last one. And when teams haven't played each other in a couple of seasons, and it's the first game of the season, so therefore, you can have gotchas in your back pocket. You just have things that the other team is not supposed to expect until you get, 150 to 250 plays on tape that you can watch back. But on the Van Ginkel touchdown, all right, well, Van Ginkel, he has some Winfield-esque play diagnosis to him. It's clear. But if you watch Ivan Pace Jr., right at the snap, he ran right out to where the screen was going to go. And the point being is, like, as a defensive coach, which you were, or a player, which you were, how do you, what goes into knowing exactly what an opponent's play is going to be?
Well, you have to know what your responsibility is, right? Somebody's going to be responsible for the quarterback if he decides to pull that thing down and run, which, by the way, they called more quarterback runs than any team we've seen in a long time, which was odd. But you know what your responsibility is, and as soon as he sees that quarterback turn to throw the ball, he makes that quick. That's the thing in linebacker. You make that quick read, and once you make it, you go, right? And defensively, I loved how we mixed in some cover 2 shell on blitzes. Jones was thinking he was going to get some kind of 3 deep. Got cover 2 on one and had to hold on to a football. We played some man-to-man. We had it mixed in there. So there's a healthy mix of different coverages when we're able to blitz, and that's something we did not do last year.
My man.
Hardcore football.
Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.
All right, man. See you. Bye.
Pete Bercich, analyst of Vikings Radio Network. Kyle Rudolph, former Vikings tight end, joins us next.